Coming up on this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast.
EOS is, to me, the best path to getting the results that you want. I have had companies triple revenue, double profitability, improve their retention of the right employees, repel the ones that shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Welcome to the Elite Recruiter Podcast with your host, Benjamin Mena, where we focus on what it takes to win in the recruiting game. We cover it all from sales, marketing, mindset, money, leadership, and placements.
Admin is a massive waste of time. That's why there's Atlas, the AI-first recruitment platform built for modern agencies. It doesn't only track resumes and calls. It remembers everything, every email, every interview, every conversation, instantly searchable, always available. And now it's entering a whole new era. With Atlas 2.0, you can ask anything and it delivers. With Magic Search, you speak and it listens. It finds the right candidates using real conversations, not simply looking for keywords. Atlas 2.0 also makes business development easier than ever. With opportunities, you can track, manage, and grow client relationships powered by generative AI and built right into your workflow. Need insights? Custom dashboards give you total visibility over your pipeline. And that's not theory. Atlas customers have reported up to 41% EBITDA growth and an 85% increase in monthly billings after adopting the platform. No admin, no silos, no lost info, nothing but faster shortlists, better hires, and more time to focus on what actually drives revenue. Atlas is your personal AI partner for modern recruiting. Don't miss the future of recruitment. Get started with Atlas today and unlock your exclusive listener offer at recruitwithatlas.com. I'm excited about this episode of the Elite Recruiter Podcast because here's the thing. In recruiting, it is chaos. No matter what you're doing, the sales, the recruiting, the this, the operations, handling so many different things in your firm, it is what I've seen time and time again, whether in my business, whether in businesses that I've worked with, I've seen recruiting is one of the most chaotic industries. But here's the thing. There are a lot of recruiters out there that are just absolutely crushing it by controlling the chaos. And if we've had them on the podcast where they've talked about it a little bit, but I'm excited to go deeper on what the hell this EOS thing is that has captured the chaos and it really helped a lot of businesses once they put it into action, accelerate growth, which is why I'm super excited to have one of the top EOS experts in the world here to share. So Jackie, welcome to the podcast and a quick 30 seconds of self-introduction because I don't think I could do justice of all your accolades.
First, great introduction. It's so nice to be here. I'm Jackie Kibler. I have been an EOS implementer for 6 years. I've led teams in sales, training, operations for 30. I, like the people listening to this, have also been an executive recruiter, both on the client side and talent acquisition and combos of both. And I absolutely love executive recruiting. It's probably one of the most fun things on the planet.
Okay. I know you've got a unique background. So let's just kind of jump forward to this, the recruiting side. How the hell did you even end up in the recruiting chair as an executive recruiter?
Oh, such a great question. So interestingly, it was an interesting journey because my first bit with recruiting started with Dun & Bradstreet internally. I hired this woman, first hire. She's like, I don't want to sell. And then fast forward a bunch of years and she owns her own recruiting agency. It's called Lincoln Creed. It's based in Denver. And she started with MRI and I helped her in building that firm. Also going to another stint as an executive recruiter. I worked for this organization, which was a franchise of MRI called Answer Quest, and that was in Florida. So in both of them, I actually wore both hats of the finding the candidates and finding clients. You absolutely have to sell yourself. You have to stay organized with both. I loved your term around being chaotic. Some of the desks that I saw, and probably mine at times, were you couldn't even see my face.
I mean, that's the thing about recruiting. And this is why I wanted to do an episode on EOS. All right, let's fast forward. You were in the recruiting chair doing both sides, 360 desk. All right. And then you decided to step away from recruiting on your journey to EOS. Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah. So my journey pre-EOS had some definite turns. You can tell I'm an entrepreneur. Also, that sort of ties into, if you are an executive recruiter, chances are you have some entrepreneurial blood. So for me, they're very closely tied. I went from being an executive recruiter to being a director of sales at LA Times, and then worked for Vistage Worldwide, where I was with like 100 CEOs that were triple type A personality entrepreneurs. I was there for several years, had a quick stint at a networking organization, and then came to EOS. The same tools that I needed as an executive recruiter, I ended up using with EOS. You've got to be very creative, diligent, organized, and gosh, the thickest skin in the world in order to ensure that you don't let yourself get down. When I was an executive recruiter, and I still do it with EOS, I call them bipolar days, right? Sometimes that's in the same hour. You had a great thing happen and then something else happened, up, down, up, down. And so you've got to somehow compartmentalize so that you don't let others know when you're feeling chaotic. I love EOS because by the way, EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's based off the book Traction, written by Gino Wickman. And a lot of what he says in that book, when I read it and when I talk to clients and prospective clients, is, oh yeah, that stuff, it's simple stuff. As you know, I could tell about because the laughing, right? Things that are simple aren't usually easy to incorporate in the day-to-day. So just because the concepts are easy doesn't necessarily mean that incorporating the discipline, which is what you need to be an executive recruiter or an owner of anything, you've got to have that discipline day in, day out to ensure the results that you get. I work with everything from agriculture to attorneys. I love working with executive recruiters just because it's part of my former space. It can be a phenomenal journey.
Before we jump over to EOS, I want to take a second on Vistage. How is that?
Oh, all right. So I'm going to take you back a little further. My dad had a music business for 50 years. So he had an entrepreneurial bone in him. And when I was growing up, I'm like, because you have got sometimes when you're going out for steak and other times where there might be celery in the refrigerator. When I was growing up, I'm like, the last thing that I want to do is be with entrepreneurs or be an entrepreneur. And it's famous last words, right? When I went to Vistage, so I was headhunted there. I was recruited there. And somehow they hired me. And I ended up working with 100 CEOs, right? That they either owned businesses and sold them. They wanted to give back to the community. And it was my job to help them grow their practice, increase the brand, build relationships, and really just grow the market value of Vistage. At that time, I was in California, so I had California and Las Vegas. So that's what I did. And I was there for several years, probably one of the biggest learning opportunities that I ever had, because these people leaned into danger, told it like it was, and were humble when they needed help too. So
I think that's an interesting move, but a cool move, going from executive recruiter, where you're working with these executives and placing them, to almost like coaching them with Vistage.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. And it was also the first time that they weren't direct reports. It was more of an influential leadership, which obviously helps me a lot with what I'm doing now as well. And I just worked with each of them, met them where they were to help them grow their brand and, hopefully helping their wallet.
And I know a few recruiting companies that put their people into Vistage. So that's why I thought it was a very interesting. Actually, I got a podcast that was recorded 2 weeks ago. His entire leadership team in Vistage, and he's an EOS guy too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
That's a perfect client, by the way. Someone who believes in professional development. That is my ideal. Whoops, hang on. That's not nice. Ideal client.
All right. So before we get into this EOS story, what the hell? I know you said it real quick, but
yeah,
we talk about this. We see these little minor little highlights on LinkedIn. Can you break down what the hell EOS even is?
Absolutely. So EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, is a business operating system. And when I say operating system, people always go to software, but it's capitalizing on human energy through your organization, building a foundation to provide growth. So I work with organizations in 3 areas: crafting a vision, bringing it down through the organization, starting with the leadership team. They have buy-in from the beginning because they were part of bringing it all together. We also start with the execution tools, which are the traction tools. So it's having people drive towards that vision day in and day out. When you're looking at having and you'll resonate with this, if you've got the vision that you're driving towards, the tools to execute against it, and you're bringing in the right people, putting them in the right seats, and everyone's driving towards the same place, rowing the same direction, it creates a much healthier organization. So those are the 3 areas that I work with companies on. It is phenomenal. And the way it works is everyone's going in the same direction. The coolest thing, like you were talking about that guy that you were with 2 weeks ago, in his EOS sessions, he doesn't have to try to implement it, drive it, learn it, and teach it, because he's a participant of it. He's learning along with the people. There are no stripes in the room, similar to Vistage. So you've got to create an open environment that's safe and people can say what they need to say and know that they're going to come to resolution to what it is.
Okay, so real quick, before we start breaking down these little parts of this, like when I first heard about EOS, I didn't know some of my friends who implemented it at the time. I was like, that's one of those things that could work great at a widget factory. I work at a people factory. My business, they have the mind of their own. It's the only product that can like walk away and just have make a decision. Can something like this actually work in the staffing, the recruiting, the executive recruiting world?
Oh my gosh, yes. So I find, particularly with people in professional services like executive recruiters, people that own agencies down to someone who's freshly hired, there's parts of this that, like I was talking about creating a vision, part of that is around the marketing strategy. When executive recruiters start using a proven process of how you work with your clients from cradle to grave, it's a game changer. It is a game changer. It totally separates you.
Pause. Okay, real quick. We have our magic solutions that we do, but when you talk about an actual system to walk through with your clients,
yeah.
Like, let me ask you the question, because you've dealt with a lot of like companies within recruiting and without recruiting.
Yeah.
How many people have a system that's actually written out on how they work with their sales process and their clients?
Oh, so that's 2 things. One, there's the internal process. That's a core process. A lot of people operate through the Wild Wild West system, right? So they've got nothing written down and everyone has tribal knowledge of how they do what they do and get the results. So it makes it very difficult to replicate.
Wait, so that's not just recruiting?
Yeah, no. But I was thinking about some of the recruiting that I've done and where I've been to do that. The companies, though, that I've worked with that have implemented it, it's just game changers. And I use those recruiting agencies with usually executives that I'm trying to get placed with clients. Those are the people that I use because they set themselves apart, having a proven process, right? Which is the external core process is internal. That's how I train my people. Proven process is external. It's how I overcome sales and marketing objections. You are interviewing for the right people in the right seats. You are a cultural fit to the organization that you're with. If I work for you, you would want to interview me on core values to make sure that we can work together and not feel any rubs, right? So you've got the proven process, core processes, and you're trying to identify right people, right seats internally and for your clients. And there's also a part that is a meeting, like a weekly meeting, where we break down barriers and silos to ensure that everyone feels like they're being communicated with effectively and efficiently. It's awesome.
Okay. It sounds like part of EOS is actually putting down everything that you do into processes and places where it's actually on paper and not in people's heads.
Right.
But let me kind of take a few steps back.
Yeah.
Let's pretend I'm a recruiting company we'll give it like maybe like 10 to 20 people doing, we'll say a few $1,000,000 a year in sales. We've kind of just grown organically. Like our team is a combination of like me, some salespeople, some recruiters, and we're just kind of just heads down grinding every single day.
Yeah.
And I'm listening to this podcast and I'm like, the very beginning of this podcast, I'm like, okay, this kind of sounds cool, but like why would I even, or why should I think about doing EOS? And then let me go into the question of like, what are some of the like challenges I might have to overcome, like starting to even look at this.
Yeah. So from starting to, I'll go backwards. People, when they're first starting EOS, it can be a little clunky because it's like learning a new language. People that live, it is.
I'm trying to learn French right now. I'm getting my butt kicked.
Exactly. It's a little uncomfortable, right? So it's a similar thing. Probably won't take as long as you learning French because that's going to be a journey. With EOS, it is a journey. And the coolest thing is if you're working with an implementer, and I've got a lot of great colleagues, I'm with my clients when they need me, how they need me. And so as they're feeling uncomfortable, I'm available. Colleagues are available. That's the uncomfortable part. That's usually when people are like, all right, well, I thought I wanted to do it, but I'm a little nervous. The people that you are talking about, like that guy with Vistage, he is like, I know what took me to 3 million won't take me to 6, and definitely won't take me to 10. You have to, there's a friend of mine, colleague actually, who we were in a meeting and he's like, you can't read the pickle jar if you are inside the jar. You have to pull yourself out to read the label. I was like, God, I love pickles and I think I'm stealing that. So here you go. But you really can't see what's going on if your head's down grinding all the time. You are going to end up, lots of times what happens, and this is not just with recruiting, I've seen it over and over again with so many different companies. They might get incremental mini wins, but unless you're looking at the strategy of how you want to go, where you want to go, you've got your people bought in, bringing in the right people, doing the right jobs, you're not going to be getting there. So if you want to be a $2 million agency, great. Keep doing what you're doing. If you want to grow larger than that, what is it? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. You're not going to be able to change what you're doing the way you're doing things now. If you want to really grow, there has to be some change in how you're doing what you're doing. EOS is, to me, the best path to getting the results that you want.
Before we start breaking down parts of the process of this, like when we were sitting there talking about change is like change is always going to be the constant, but at the same time, change is absolutely scary, especially when you have a team, mouse to feed. This is like what you've been doing. Your sweat, blood, and equity has been put in this.
Yes.
Like this is like years and years of late nights, sleepless nights. Like how much change do you think these people have to go through to say like, this is going to be the path?
I think everyone has their own temperature gauge. One thing that I'll tell you is one of actually there are 5 frustrations and reasons that owners, business owners, CEOs bring us in. It's a loss of control. It's a loss of people, profit, structure, like things like that are really, and they don't, like nothing's working. So when you look at someone who wants to take a different approach or strategic approach, it actually calms the chaos that you were talking about earlier. The pain, although in the beginning it's there, it elevates because you're elevating yourself, doing the things that you love best. You've got time for other things, and it allows your people to feel more empowered to do the things that are going to make them the most dollars as well.
Okay. So over a few glasses of wine and chatting with my amazing wife, we're still back in this scenario. Okay.
Yep.
Maybe we'll say a nice bottle of Bordeaux wine, and we're chatting about, we were chatting about this, and like, of course she's always awesome. She's like, you just need to do this. Okay. So I call up Jackie. I'm like, Jackie, we had this conversation. This kind of sounded cool. I want to move forward in this process. What does this even look like for me? And like I said, the structure of this organization is the owner. I have some salespeople. I have some recruiters. That's really just the basic structure of how we do it. And we're a few $1,000,000 here. Okay. So Jackie, I'm thinking about pulling the trigger. Or we're pulling the trigger. Let's go. What happens next?
So the first thing I would want to do is I'd want to meet with you and your executive team to share with you I want to learn about you, share about EOS. I'll walk through the tools with you and then the EOS process. And what EOS is, it's a series of, at least with an implementer, is you're going through a series of sessions. And the session is a day. It's 7 hours plus or minus an hour. You're first going to find the tools, learn the tools. We customize the tools to you. You do that for 30 days. We refine what you do. And something that I want to talk about that people get very hung up on, it doesn't matter if you're uber salesy or uber analytical. A lot of people think that what you put down on paper is set in stone, and it's not. It's set in gravel. So you can always change it around. Think about the Zen garden, right? I know I keep using all these analogies, right? After you've got the 3 foundational days, right? The focus day, the 2 vision building days, which are really 3 sessions, 60 days apart. I meet with my clients once a quarter. Every session is still that 7 hours plus or minus an hour, except the 2-day annual. I'm getting an annual season now that focuses a lot on team health, SWOT analysis, rebuilding and upchanging your vision. It's called a vision traction organizer. So we do that. The coolest thing and what I love about EOS, with clients, there are no contracts. So we go session by session.
We'll just say if I get angry at this entire process, it could be like, Jackie, you're fired right now. We're done.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Luckily that hasn't happened. But there are people that are like, you know what? I thought I wanted structure, but no, I want to keep it the way it is. That has happened. The only time EOS doesn't work, which is what your first question is if you're not dedicated to the process. That's why for myself and my assistant, my poor assistant has to deal with me, and I'm very high maintenance because I want her to be like white glove service to my clients and of course also to me. And I give white glove service to everybody. I was on vacation. Where was I? I might have actually been in France. Yes. Unfortunately not Bordeaux. But I had a client call me while I was there. He's in New Jersey and he's like, hey, I got to talk to you. I had this thing happen. How should I handle it? And that's fine. The only time I don't respond immediately is when I'm with another client. And then I just text back. I'm like, hey, can I call you back in a half an hour when I give these guys a break? That's
okay.
it.
All right. So I want to kind of jump through some of these EOS steps, or
Sure.
at least the components. Because I just had a few months ago, an incredible Pinnacle member. She talked about her EOS journey too.
Yeah.
She was raving about this vision thing, the vision component. She was talking about how it was one of the most important things that she's probably done. What the hell is explain that component?
So the vision component answers 8 questions. And if I own an agency of myself and one other person, this component might be really cool for you. It is a vision traction organizer, and I can email that to anybody who wants it, or you can download it from the EOS website. You could do that too. But it answers 8 questions, and it really sets your mindset almost like a vision board. So you're answering, what are your core values? What's your core focus? What's your 10-year target? What's your marketing strategy, your 3-year picture, your 1-year plan, your rocks, which are 90-day initiatives that must get done to ensure that the 1-year plan is met. You take a bite out of the 3-year picture and attacks that 10-year target. The last question on that is, what are your issues? And I agree with the Pinnacle person. That was the first thing that I did before I even went to boot camp for EOS. I saw it when, because I was able to sit in on a session with a gentleman who is an implementer in California before I went to boot camp. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is fabulous. So I just did it for myself, and I update mine every single quarter.
Do you think that sit down, breaking down the vision is an important part of that process?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you, let me take a step back. When you're sitting down with all these organizations, especially us recruiters, do they ever tell you the last time they sat down and wrote out a vision?
Yeah, it's usually never. And here's the funniest part, because I'm on the Speakers Bureau with EOS, but I've also done a lot of speaking gigs with Vistage and other, like I'm doing one for a commercial real estate organization next week. They hardly ever do anything. And the CEO might be in their Vistage group and they're like, oh, let's work on our strategy and maybe they'll do something. But it's only one brain. And if you have 3 people on your leadership team, that's 2 times as much information as you could get if you do it by yourself.
Do you think like just sitting down and spinning, like how many hours do you guys work on the vision part?
When I am with clients, it would be 14 hours.
Do you think just that part right there, like if they, this is going to sound stupid, but if they don't implement anything else, do you think that is like a huge thing that like is worth it?
I think for a 1 to 2 person shop, it's a game changer. I think if you have more than that, to me, if you implement the meeting pulse, which is a level 10 meeting, which is just a meeting that's same day, same time, starts on time, ends on time, same agenda, and you've got over half the time dedicated for addressing issues, that to me is a game changer.
Okay.
100%. You know, lots of times people, and I'll say this for every company that I have worked with until EOS, I would walk into a meeting, didn't matter where it was. Someone would bring up a problem. We would discuss it ad nauseum without any solutions or action items, and we would leave. And that issue would sit in purgatory. The person who had it would start festering, right? They're like, oh my God, nobody cares. And it would become this like water cooler talk. So it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. When meanwhile, if you just did the level 10 meeting, you'd knock it out.
Okay. So real quick, this level 10 meeting, like break that down real quick one more time.
So it starts with just a check-in. Personal best, professional best, you go through a scorecard. So this is, especially with recruiters, this is so important. What do you want to measure? And I know they probably measure everything under the sun. That doesn't make, I can tell you with both agencies I was with, we did not make our goals every month. Scorecard is weekly. You have weekly numbers that you need to hit that are leading indicators, and that helps to ensure that you can keep on track and hit your monthly nut, right? Then after the scorecard, are there any initiatives that people are doing? Those are what we call rocks, checking in to make sure people are on track with that. Anything people headlines like, hey, I just brought on a new client. They have 3 openings that they need to have filled. We did it. So that would be a people headline. And then any action items from last week that needed to be done. And what are we talking about? Like, what do we need to address that we need to discuss to like connect the dots? And then we just close the meeting. That's it.
Man. Yeah, like I'm just going back to like nightmares. At the time, many, many years ago, I was an internal recruiter at a large defense contractor. And I broke down the amount of hours I was spending on a monthly basis. It came out to 35 hours in meetings a week.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Your tax dollars hard at work with government contractors.
Yes. Yes. Since you said that, company I was with last week, Salt Lake City, they used to have weekly meetings that started at 6 a.m. and sometimes went 6 hours. I was like, are you kidding me? Who the hell is going to be at the office at 6 a.m.? Like, I just think that's horrible. So luckily now it's once a week with all of them, 90 minutes done.
Perfect. Okay. So I know another part of the process is people.
Yes.
In the recruiting world, like we typically have like the owner or the firm leader, the CEO, and then the sales teams and the recruiting teams, like split desk or full desk recruiters where everybody's doing stuff. Like very few recruiting companies have like stuff like learning and development, their own HR team, their own finance team, their own this. So like when we talk about, you're sitting there reading this book Traction, you have this breakdown of the leadership team and you're like, I've seen a few leaders look around like, well, everything's just me.
Yes. That happens not just with recruiters. So
I keep on thinking we're special.
Yeah, well, you are. You are. So in many cases, the owner might be in multiple seats, but are they happy in those multiple seats? And lots of times the reason that they opened up their business is because they wanted to make money doing what they love. And that's with anything. So if you use that as the benchmark, if I opened up a bakery, it's not how to run the business. It's I want to bake stuff. It's the same thing with recruiters. I know that I can do this. I know how to do it. I'm going to open up my own firm. But the business side is what's lacking. And for me, especially with recruiting, sometimes executive recruiters are the cobbler in the shoe, right? So think about that, right? So what do I need to do? Where do I want to be in a year? So I'll start with the right seat, and you build out what's called an accountability chart. So we're looking at September 2026. What do I want my agency to look like? What seats am I currently in? What's the biggest one that I need to offload to somebody in the next 12 months? What do I need to do to get there? And so the scorecard helps with what I'm talking about right now. So if I need, I don't know, an extra $500,000 to bring on somebody to take over, I don't know, the operations seat, I'm just using that as an example. That's where my focus would be. So I'm building out what that other person would do. And hopefully for an agency, it would be sort of the yin to the yang of the owner. I'll tell you, for me, I love going out and meeting people. I love doing things like this. I love like everything like client facing. I hate the details of the everyday thing. I don't want to have to deal with the CRM or websites, anything like that. I do a ton on social media. I outsource it because I need to be in the green time. And I learned that actually at recruiting. What's your green time, right? Red time is everything that isn't making you money, right? So those seats are really important in mapping out what you want what is that person, what should they be doing in a very simple approach. So those are the seats, right? And we're hiring towards those seats. The right people is a lot of times though where people miss the mark. And I'll say this for not just executive recruiters within their agency, but also sometimes outside of the agencies with their clients, and their clients don't do it either. I've done it before I knew anything about this. Usually people are like, the last interview, I just want to see if you're a fit with the company. That's usually the CEO. And sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. But one of the things you were asking about, the vision traction organizer, the vision is the core values. Core values, that documents who we are as a company and threads our culture together person by person. And if we're not asking interview questions around that, then our hit rate might not be as high as we want it to be.
So one of the things like we're building out this towards this future year from now and figuring out who I actually need to hire to build out this leadership team. And you're probably doing this only if you want to grow, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time. The goal is growth. What happens if you have like your leadership team already and you're sitting there going through this process of like figuring out based on like you were talking about this accountability chart of, hey, maybe this person's not in the right seat. What do I do? But I really like them. Like,
yes,
been buddies since college.
That's a great question. And it's sometimes, and I'm just going to say it like it is, you got to figure out, is there a seat for that person in your agency? You may or may not. If you're feeling that they're not in the right seat, $100 says that person also is probably staying because you've known each other since college. And they're probably not doing as well as they want to do in life either, within the agency. So if you've got another thing that a lot of times it's conversations, I might have a conversation with you saying, hey, you know what? If it's about me in the seat, it's like, I don't know if I'm serving you justice in this. I love doing X, Y, and Z. Is there space for me in the agency or in the firm? And sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's no. If you're my boss, you own the agency and I work for you, you might come up to me and say, hey, you know what? We did this accountability chart together. We agreed on this. Where do you think you are? Because here's what I'm seeing. And it's just a candid conversation. It also takes away subjectivity. I can't get mad at you if I am like, yeah, we did, and I felt it too.
Do you ever see in all the times of working with companies where they realize it's not the right seat and that person goes into a different seat and they see success in that other seat?
Yeah, it happens. Okay. It does happen. And then there's other times where people are like, I don't think this happened a couple days ago at a law firm in California where there was a person in a seat and the seat outgrew her. But the company, I mean, this is crazy and you're going to get knocked out of your chair. This company has like grown 2,000%. 2,000%. It's crazy. But the seat outgrew her. That's all there is. And I mean, so she has to think about, look, is the seat, if I go down a level, am I still going to be happy? Am I still going to be a cultural fit? Am I going to be happy in the seat? Well, I hate the word demoted, but if I'm put in a seat that better suits my talent. So, I mean, there are times that things work. A lot of it is about communication and trust, right?
T word.
Yeah, I know.
I know another component is data.
Yes.
Like looking at like EOS and then looking at like the recruiting world. What's the important data to grow your business?
So the cool thing is we talked about this a little bit, but I called it a scorecard. So the scorecard looks at weekly numbers. It also has monthly and quarterly and things like that. But really in the book, it talks about making sure you're measuring things weekly to make sure that you can hit your monthly nut, right? So you've got the measurable that you want, and that could go through the organization, including finance, including sales, marketing, anything like that. For recruiting, I'd probably have number of client contracts out and expected in, and then number of top candidates reached. So those are things that I would put. The other part of the data component, with the measurable, you've got who's accountable to it, which holds that person accountable to whatever the weekly number is, and then what the weekly goal is. And everybody in the organization has to have a number. Yeah.
So everybody has a number. And like, I know one of the things that like I hear about from EOS is like this transparency. Does everybody get to see everybody's scorecards?
On the executive team, they've got access to everything. If I am talent acquisition for clients, you would probably set the number or it depends. It depends on how you're doing it and how open you are with your company. You might have the client acquisition and talent candidate acquisition. You might allow them to see who's gotten what. That could put extra pressure on them, which can be good. But then there are other parts of the organization like finance. You might not want everybody to see the financial numbers. You might, but you might not. Right?
True. Wait, we just spent this much on LinkedIn Recruiter? What the hell, guys?
Exactly.
If you want a really funny conversation, completely sidelined of everything.
Yeah.
There was a company I was working at years and years ago. The TA leader left. The new TA leader walked in to an unpaid $900,000 LinkedIn bill.
Wow. That's crazy. Welcome to day one.
Yeah. So it was just like, finances. Yay. Okay. It's one of the things, it was just like reading some of the traction books, hearing about this. Like, I feel like the people issue, this is going to sound bad, might be one of the hardest parts to work through.
Yes, it is. 84% of issues are on 2 feet. And it's so funny. I was just talking to somebody earlier today. In many instances, people just don't want to deal with the people issues. You could have someone who isn't a cultural fit, but doing a good job. I've had people like that where I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is like number 3 in the company. I don't want to lose that revenue. And that is the mindset of so many people. But as soon as he did something that just crossed the line and where I'd be like, peace out, everyone else rose to the occasion and we actually did better, right? So you got the wrong person in the right seat. You also, like you were talking, you might have someone that you love. They're a cultural amazement, but they don't fit in their seat. And unfortunately, with most leaders, they're afraid to make the change. So the status quo is all they know. And like my favorite book one of my favorite books in general is Bradford Smart Top Grading, So with each client that I have regarding like top grading, I have an acronym that I use, and sometimes people do it as a chant. It's called ABR. We ABR. Always be recruiting. Always. You're always benchwarming. You're always meeting people. You're always trying to see who can be the next person in the seat in my organization. That makes it easier. I mean, if you love them, it's still going to be painful, but you got to think of the greater good of the company. Do you want to get to 10 million or do you want to stay at 2? The only way to do that is people, process, systems, technology.
I think that goes back to like drawing that vision of where you want to be next year, where you want to be 10 years from now. And I think that's also a mistake, because we talk about these awesome months in recruiting, these awesome years in recruiting, but so often we talk about growth, but we don't ever really talk about ABR. Always be recruiting for our own organization. We're always recruiting all day long, but I think we forget to recruit for our own team.
So much. And also to make that person more successful, if I've got a desk and I'm building a practice, for me to be more in the green time, what support do I need to ensure that I can get there? And half the time people are like, they don't even think like that because there's so much in the grind. They'll just complain because they're not getting to where they want to get to because they're doing so much admin work because they don't have help. Right?
You're right about that. So I know we've kind of like talked about this, but like, is there anything, I know another component is called issues. Like, is there anything more that we need to go on that one?
All I can tell you, and we did talk about it, but the one thing that I can say is if you are tackling the issues and you have a problem with issues when you're doing your level 10 meeting is that sometimes people just want to beat a dead horse over and over and over again. You have to have someone or people who can say, hey, we already talked about that. Stop soapboxing about this. What do we need to do about it? Or if you heard an action item, all right, that is the action item. We call them to-dos. Let's get rid of this issue for now and let's move on to the next one. It only works if you follow the process, right? And I know I keep coming back to that, but
I mean, that was the next thing I was going to ask you about is this like process thing. And I'm trying to like figure out a good way to reframe this question because so often we hear about recruiters talking about building this system and building this process and building this system and building this process. But very few people, maybe that I need to go deeper on that in podcast interviews, but like, what the hell is that? But like most of the time don't have systems and processes, but you've said, I think like 27 times that you need the process to actually grow from 2 million to 10 million or 10 million to 20 million or wherever you want to go.
Yeah.
What the hell does that even mean? Like,
so EOS itself is a process and a system, right? You're implementing this whole process to help you grow your company. And there is a process component, which is about documenting core processes in the company. Now, I have it's hard for a lot of people. I'm going to throw myself in this bucket. Sometimes you're sitting there, I'm going to do this talent acquisition process for our firm and when it's okay to do it. And you sit down at your computer and it's like, it's all here and it gets stuck from here to here. So I always have people use the notes version of their phone and I just have them dictate it. Then I have them email it to themselves, put it in a document, make it look pretty. I also now love, I used to hate it, but now I actually find it as a friend instead of a foe, is AI. Because I mean, it's just the verbiage, but it makes all of it so much easier. You're dictating, sending it, putting it through AI, and then making your company's way to do things in a place that people know where it is. You're sharing it with them. You're putting it on a scorecard to measure that they're doing it. You're managing to it and then updating it.
Ooh. And when you're sitting there like talking about all these like processes and stuff, is everything processed out or is it just like certain parts processed out?
EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. So we look at you want to do the top 20% of tasks that get 80% of the results. I have seen some companies, like there's a management association that I worked with, and this isn't the only one, but they had Google Docs and hyperlinks. So it was a core process, entrepreneurially written, but they had hyperlinks if they needed more data. I've had a lot of people use Loom videos. You can do whatever you want, but you just have to get it out of here. And let's just say you do a thing better than I do. I swipe and adapt all day, every day with what other implementers do. I did that with recruiting. I did that with almost everything. So if you have the best practice, I would nominate you to help do it, and I'll help you put it together, right? And so you got to make it really easy, and whoever does it the best, they're the ones that are lucky enough to be designated to that short document to help everybody else rise the boat.
Now, when looking at building out this process thing, like how long does it typically take for the companies that you're working with or the entrepreneurs that you're working with to like process what they're supposed to process out?
It depends how they want to do it. There's a company called Playbook Builder, and they use AI and they write process like this using the software. That is really quick. I know it's probably updated a little bit more readily than people who document process for others. And it depends. There's also some companies that want to dig deeper than what EOS has down for core processes. All you're trying to do is systemize your business. Whatever it's going to take to do that, little or big, that's what you're going to do. But the problem is with some people is they're like, oh, we're going to document everything under the sun, and people just like their eyeballs glaze over.
Although that was me.
Yeah. It's me too.
And the last part of traction is traction.
Yes. Gotta love the John Belushi eyebrows, right?
I'm sorry.
That was
realize I did that.
That was awesome. Traction's all about execution. So it's about the 90-day rocks or goals. And all that is I might have, like we just talked about documenting process. I might have a rock or a 90-day goal to write a process around talent acquisition. Okay. I write that. That's a rock. That helps to move the agency forward. Not everybody has rocks. In the book, it says everybody has to have a rock, but it's you got to be, if I am the person that is like just trying to get stuff done, and that is my job, you don't want that production to go out. They'll have a scorecard number, but I might not have a rock. But everyone that can have a rock should. And then also the part that's in there is the meeting pulse. And that's the level 10 meetings that we were talking about.
Okay, so real quick, rocks. Like break that down. What is a rock again? Like I know they're outside.
They are outside and they're in EOS. So rocks are 90-day goals.
Okay.
That's all it is. So if I have to implement a new CRM to my agency, that is an initiative that moves the business forward.
Okay, so stuff like that is a rock compared to like the day-to-day stuff.
Wouldn't be day-to-day. But I'm going to backpedal a little bit, and hopefully it does not confuse you or anybody that's listening. If I am a executive recruiting agency and I am down by, I don't know, we thought we'd get 20 new clients and we only are at 10. I might know that between now and the end of the year, we need to get 10 new clients. And that's too much for a 90-day rock. But let's just say we had 2 quarters left. Maybe I get 5 Q1 and then 5 Q2. So that helps to bring it down to the ground. Because if I'm only looking at something like a CRM, which is working on the business, that takes away from some of the things that like sales leaders put down. Right? If I have to hire internally 2 internal key employees, I would probably have that as a rock.
Okay. Now, these like recruiting companies that you've sat down with and implemented the EOS, what kind of like results have you seen with these companies?
Some have been amazing. So when I was talking to you before, and one of these I use as that it's who I refer to because they are so like professionalized. And because of that, their credibility, at least with myself and other implementers, is like through the roof. And they only hire right people in right seats internally. They make sure that their communication internally and externally is fluid. They work with their clients on it's just structured, right? I think that's a great word for it.
Okay.
They have their scheduled time with them. They've got their playbook in which they are using to walk clients through what the expectations are. And they follow that guidebook during that recruitment cycle of trying to get the candidates for clients, right? And all right, funny thing, when they're talking to candidates, they also talk about the right people in the right seats. So they use EOS speak. They talk about, hey, a right person is just making sure that you're a cultural fit. You fit the core values of the agency or the company that you're recruiting for. Here's what we're looking for. They're not going to say, hey, our client believes in doing the right thing. Do you like doing the right thing? No. So you want to make sure that the questions fit what you want to do, not just trying to make a placement that might go away in 3 days, right?
Everybody would say yes to that.
Exactly. Let's see. Our clients believe in help first. They're a help first model. Do you like helping first?
Sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the way they ask questions is just phenomenal, which I think has helped them in raising the bar for recruiting agencies.
So we got the external raising the bar, and we got like, things operational set up, but let's talk about the monetary gains.
Yeah. So I'll give you several, okay? I have had companies triple revenue, double profitability, improve their retention of the right employees, repel the ones that shouldn't have been there to begin with, and from a reputation perspective, improve like visibility, whether it's social, whether it is in the community, become best places to work. That is all through implementing EOS. Last September, and this is not a recruiting agency, it's an ESOP company, so an employee-owned company based out of Alaska. They meet me in Seattle. I was with them last week. Last September, end of September, I was doing a one-to-one with their CEO, and he said to me, Jackie, I want to thank you for helping ARG bring in 2 new millionaires to the organization. Exactly. He's like, the part of the reason that we were able to do this is because we've implemented EOS, we're following it, and everybody in the organization has been bought into it. And like the people that became 2 more millionaires, like I think he said one was a warehouse manager and it wasn't executives. I think that's the messaging from it. But I was just like, my eyes bulged out when he said that. It's amazing.
You've mentioned earlier on, like about once it's implementing, when you've seen these teams, when you sat down with these teams, and I feel like most of the time everybody's like got their marching orders and they're going and doing their own thing. How important have you seen the entire team, I guess, rowing in the same direction together? And do you see that happen a lot?
I do see it happen a lot. Now, here's the thing. I'm primarily with the executive team, but if you look at the executive team, they're the heads and everybody else follows, like you just said. When they're not, you can see it in a minute. A company that I was with last week, or this week, I mean, in Salt Lake City, we finally had a breakthrough with them trusting themselves and each other enough to address issues in a not necessarily fluffy way. And I was like, you guys, finally, and I said, this is verbatim. I was like, thank you for finally doing real IDS. And I had everyone put their hand up. And I'm like, I want you to promise that this is what you're doing moving forward. So they thought that they were rowing in the same direction. And they all love each other. It's like what you were talking about. You've got somebody You've known them since college, blah, blah, blah. This company wasn't maximizing what they needed to do. And now it's time that they are finally taking, and this 9 months I've been with them. So that to me, to do real IDS took a little bit more time. So that rowing in the same direction sometimes takes longer for some than others.
Have you ever seen EOS and implementing EOS? Like we talk about the growth, we talk about systems, we talk about kind of getting out of the chaos. Have you ever seen it repair relationships with team members?
So there's a part of EOS, and I know there's way too many acronyms. It's called LMA, Leading, Managing, and Accountability. There is a whole book written by Gino Wickman and Renee Boer called How to Be a Great Boss. Phenomenal, practical application book that talks about how to have quarterly conversations, how to do one-to-ones, what to say to get your mind going. There's another part about that's how to have the right mindset if you're angry about something, to get it out, get your mindset the way you want it to be in order to get what you want from that other person. So when you take all of that into consideration, and on the other side of it, if I'm still not doing what you want me to do, there's something called a 3-strike rule, which is sort of like a performance improvement plan. All of that together sets expectations, communicates around them, takes subjectivity out to have the business be the business, because we're only thinking about the greater good of the agency in this case. And if you're doing that, it does help communication get better. Lots of issues with people are just around communication. So how to be a great boss and then utilizing the tools of EOS helps so much. We're just talking about people, right? It's just working with people, how to talk to them, how to communicate with them, how to bend yourself as a manager or owner to really maximize what you want from the person.
Well, let me ask you a question on this. Like, when does EOS not work?
EOS never works if you're not committed to doing it. Lots of people tell me that they want to do it. They want to have the growth. They want to be able to have time for other passions or have time just to breathe, have time to do more green things or more in the community things. But then when it comes down to nuts and bolts, they don't change what they're doing. Usually when I see that, and I know some of my colleagues are the same, we bring it out and it's like, I don't know if this is working. We're wasting your time and your money. And for me and my colleagues, the only thing that we have is our inventory, and our inventory are our days. I don't want to spend time with people who aren't going to do what they need to do. I want to spend time with people that do. And by the way, that sentence coming out of me, you never would have heard it after with 2 years of experience. That took a lot longer than that. Slow learner right here.
Okay, well, this sounds cool and everything, but what about like, those people that are a one-man show? Like, they want to grow, but at the moment it's just them listening to this podcast and they're like, I have this vision, I have this idea, I have this stuff, but then now you're hearing about leadership teams and like this and that and this accountability chart, and maybe I'll put my cats on it for the time being, put them on the phone. Like, what about the one-man show? What's the advice to them with all this EOS stuff?
I would do 2 things. One, just fill out the vision traction organizer. It will motivate you. Have it posted in front of you every day so you can see where you want to go. The other thing I might suggest are, what are 5 measurables, 5 numbers that you want to achieve every week? And just put it in front of you. I've been a solopreneur. I'm a solopreneur now. I don't have a huge team. It's me, my 1099 assistant, my 1099 bookkeeper, and my 2 dogs. I get it. I get what that life is like. I live it day in, day out. And I still keep myself disciplined through updating my vision traction organizer, those 8 questions. I can send that to anyone that's listening. And I can also send you a scorecard, just editable scorecard. Just go in, put what you want to have down. It's free. There's no commitment to it. Just you and the documents I send.
Should they just hit you up on LinkedIn for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we've covered a lot. We've talked about the walkthrough of the EOS and If you haven't read the book Traction, there you go. Before we jump over to the next part of the podcast, is there anything else that you want to go a little deeper on, or that I completely missed out that we need to talk about when it comes to EOS and recruiting?
No, I think we covered a lot.
Okay, cool. This is the quick fire questions, and they don't need to be quick answers.
Okay.
A recruiting agency, they're looking at EOS for the first time. If they ask you one piece of advice to make it successful, what would that piece of advice be?
Have the right people in the room to help you drive the organization.
Okay. Is there a book that has had a huge impact on your career?
Absolutely. So I talked to you about it and I share it with everybody. It's Top Grading, ABR all the way. ABR, always be recruiting. You've got to always be bench warming to ensure that you have the top of the top and people want to be with you.
Man, we forget about that all the time, recruiters. We need to recruit for ourselves.
Yes.
Right about that. Okay, so you see all these companies, making changes. Do you have a favorite tech tool that you absolutely love?
Well, I shared it with you. I live and die by having things go. All of the brains put together can come up with something, but putting it through Chat GPT, you can get it in a much more beautiful verbiage than at least than I can by myself.
It always looks prettier.
It does. It does.
I'm like, I could you get rid of those little M dashes, but other than that, man, how did I not think of this? Good job.
Yeah.
So this is more of a personal question for you. Looking back on this career where you've had these shifts and changes and you've been working through these organizations and helping these organizations and executives, what is one of the biggest challenges that you personally had to work through for your career?
I want to say that I'm finally getting over the hump with this, but I'm a people pleaser. And it took me the longest time and it wasn't in corporate life and it wasn't even in agency life, where it would take me a minute to actually talk about what I really wanted and why. Now I just do it. And actually it was someone at Vistage, actually multiples at Vistage. Those chairs are they will put you in your place. But I said something that was a little chameleonized and they were like, that's not really what you're trying to say. You have to trust yourself and say what you really mean. And so that was really the beginning of me being able to be my authentic self instead of trying to make other people happy.
So recruiting, it's a world full of a lot of people pleasers. How did you start overcoming that? You recognized that somebody called you out on that, but how'd you go from point A to point B?
Slowly. I had to gut check myself a lot, and I just got more confident in myself that my ideas are valid and people will respect you for stating your opinion or thoughts more so than just being a yes ma'am person. And as an implementer, I see it. If they have, the reason that I said have the right people in the right room when you're implementing EOS is because if you have the owner and then you don't have somebody who is at that can talk to the person about real things, they're just going to be a yes sir person and you're never going to get what you want. I was probably a yes sir person because at Dun & Bradstreet, that's what they wanted me to do. If you disagreed, then you'd be blackballed. So I think I was kind of groomed that way in a company culture. And I'm first generation in the US, and my dad and mother are very much just say yes and move on. Just do it. Just do it. So it has taken me several years to be at a place where I'm yeah, this is what I feel. Here's the reason why. And it's hilarious because I've got something behind this. I had this retreat. This is going to be funny and so off topic. I had a retreat with a bunch of female implementers last month. And the people that were putting on the retreat, who were other implementers, one of them did yoga stuff. And she said, this is me. And this is the crow. And at first, she's you observe, but then you're going to state what you said, what you mean. and your opinion, like a crow. And she then started running around the room going, caw. And I'm like, I really don't think that's a compliment. But she was like, no, I love how you're observing. And I do. I mean, I have a psych background, so I love people. My whole passion is helping people get to the next level. And you can't just sit there and be center of attention. You got to hear what's being said, and then you can state what your thoughts are. But when she started running around the room cawing, I'm just like,
It's like, oops, my leg went out.
Exactly. I'm like, Lord, really? This is motivating to me. How? It was hilarious.
Oh, that's wild. That's wild. I'm going to ask this question twice, but in two different time frames. Everything that you know now, the ups, downs, experiences, the success, all the people that you've talked with, if you had the chance to go back in time, sit down with yourself at the beginning of you sitting down in the executive recruiting chair, and you're starting your career as an executive recruiter, what would you tell yourself?
Not to doubt yourself. Be the best you can be. Don't compare yourself to others. Just you be the best recruiter you can, whether it's a split desk, full desk, whatever. Get to your point where you're like, I am kicking butt, taking names. I'm only looking at me and trying to better myself, and beat me from last quarter, beat me from last month, beat me from last year.
Were you comparing yourself a lot?
Yeah, at AnswerQuest, I was working with one of the number one people in MRI across the country. And he's the one that taught me a bit about red time and green time. And like I said, I swipe and adapt everything. I do. It's awesome. It's, I don't know everything. I don't know much. I just like stealing from other people, making it my own, and there you go. But yeah, so I would not understand why I wasn't as good as he was. And I'm like, I just got to focus on me. And I did very well. Even after I left, I spoke with the CEO because I was talking to him about, I was trying to bring him in on some deal or whatever. And he's like, after you left, 6 months after you left, you were still filling positions. Now, I never got any of that money, but he certainly did. He's like, you always brought added value. Like, okay, that's good.
He's like, thanks for all those extra checks.
Exactly.
Now, added value right there.
That's right. That's right.
And let me ask the same question again. So you've now, by the time this goes live, it'll be like well over 500 EOS sessions.
Yeah.
That you've implemented, because podcast, it takes a little bit of time. If you could go back in time to like your first few months in EOS, what would you tell yourself there?
Choose the right clients. Right people, right seat includes your clients. Don't just take everyone and anyone. Like I said, the people that I'm like, if you don't want it, don't do it. Don't waste your money. That took me several years. And funny thing was, so I started in 2019. I lived in California. 6 months after I started, COVID happened. California was shut down, I think, longer than every other state. And for 3 weeks, I was like, why am I doing? I just should go start working again. And I talked to a chair, maybe one of the same one. Like my husband and I went to their house for dinner, and I told her, because I executive recruiter called me about this executive vice president of sales for an organization in Orange County. I told my husband, I got to at least go for it. I talked to the chair in LA, and she's like, so where are you going to be in 2 years? And now the head of a sales department usually is, or an organization is usually around 2 years. And I was like, maybe in the same position I'm in right now. She's like, then why in God's name would you give up your practice to go to something that would be in 2 years when you know you'll be in the same place at that time?
Ouch.
Well, she just, bam, right in the face. She does it to this day, right? I talk to her. I still talk to her, right? You need those people in your life.
You really do. And this is going to be like, this is the last question before I let you go. And, you sit there and talk with a lot of like agency owners, actually like entrepreneurs from all different fields.
Yeah.
And you get asked about like how probably to increase revenue, how to add systems, the right people, the right place, the right systems. How do I double my revenue and make everything give me time back with my family? What's a question that you almost never get that you wish they would actually ask you?
One thing that I wish there are some people that do, but a lot don't. When I tell them about my background, including, I was an internal recruiter as well, right? But I was an executive recruiter. I've captured passive candidates and I got clients for the agencies as well. So I know how to ask questions. And the one thing that I would want people to do is take advantage of it. You want to make sure that you're bringing in people into your culture, that fit your culture, that fit where you want to go, not somebody that is going to be an eyesore as soon as they walk in the door. So I would want someone to ask me for help outside of what they think an EOS implementer should do.
Love that. Before I let you go, 2 things. First of all, if somebody wants to follow you, how do they go about doing that?
So I am on LinkedIn, Jackie Kibler. I've got the EOS orange on. I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. Please connect with me. And you can also email me at jackie.kibler@eosworldwide.com.
Awesome. And before I let you go, is there anything else that you want to share with the listeners?
This was awesome. Here's the thing. People that want to work with me or enjoy working with me are very serious about what they do, but not serious about themselves. I have fun with the clients that I'm with, and they learn a ton and I learn a ton. It's usually, we end up being, I'm a trusted advisor and a friend, and that's what I like doing.
Awesome. Well, Jackie, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Like, I've had these interviews with these recruiters who have had this incredible growth, whether they're by themselves or with your teams, and just like crushing numbers, like where they've been able to break through. And many of them are just like behind the scenes, like, yeah, I'm like part of EOS. I'm part of like EO, or I'm part of like these organizations. So thank you for coming and explaining what the hell this even is.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a joy.
So I'm excited that you came on, shared, because I truly believe that there are ways that you can set up your business, whether you're solo desk, whether you're a desk at somebody else's agency, or whether you're the agency, so that way you can help grow, crush your dreams, and make 2025 the best year yet. So thank you guys. Go crush it. Admin is a massive waste of time. That's why there's Atlas, the AI first recruitment platform built for modern agencies. It doesn't only track resumes and calls. It remembers everything, every email, every interview, every conversation, instantly searchable, always available. And now it's entering a whole new era. With Atlas 2.0, you can ask anything and it delivers. With Magic Search, you speak and it listens. It finds the right candidates using real conversations, not simply looking for keywords. Atlas 2.0 also makes business development easier than ever. With opportunities, you can track, manage, and grow client relationships powered by generative AI and built right into your workflow. Need insights? Custom dashboards give you total visibility over your pipeline. And that's not theory. Atlas customers have reported up to 41% EBITDA growth and an 85% increase in monthly billings after adopting the platform. No admin, no silos, no lost info, nothing but faster shortlists, better hires, and more time to focus on what actually drives revenue. Atlas is your personal AI partner for modern recruiting. Don't miss the future of recruitment. Get started with Atlas today and unlock your exclusive listener offer at recruitwithatlas.com.